Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. After you through the news you need to know about, we run you through the fan Q&A where we answer fans' questions. It's going to be a good episode. Last episode was pretty negative. I feel like we have some positive things to talk about at least. I think last game was rough. One of the worst, I think, and definitely might be the worst Mike McDaniel game since he's been here, was against the Texans. So let's get into the news you need to know about. This first news story, very strange news story. Blake Ferguson, obviously the long-time snapper for the Miami Dolphins, has been absent since week 5, I believe. So let's get into this. Comes from Pro Football Rumors. Ferguson, the team's primary long snapper since 2020, played the first 5 games of the season before being placed on reserve/non-football injury list in October. The team has released no information on what's going on with Ferguson, and special teams coordinator Danny Crossman claimed, quote, "It would be illegal to reveal what's going on," per Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald. It would be illegal, according to Danny Crossman, who, by the way, is one of the might be the least favorite Dolphins coordinator out of everybody. Coach. I think he's probably, if we had to do a poll, everybody's least favorite. Because honestly, the Dolphins have a pretty good coaching staff, at least in my opinion. I know I don't know if that's a popular take anymore. But, Wes Welker, Weaver. Frank Smith is take it or leave it, even though he was getting head coaching interviews. There's some good coaches on this staff, so. But Danny Crossman, very strange story. Like, I hope Blake Ferguson's okay. I don't know. I don't think a coach has ever answered a question like that, though. It would be illegal to reveal information about why this player has been absent since week 5. This next news story is very unfortunate. Dolphins will not, again, this comes from Pro Football Rumors, Dolphins will not activate Bradley Chubb. Bradley Chubb has spent the 2024 season rehabbing his ACL tear from last year. Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel said on Tuesday via ESPN that Chubb will not be activated on the reserve/PUP list. Obviously, he's been practicing. If you guys, we've talked about that on the podcast or the show, that he hasn't been practicing. It would have been nice to have him down the stretch, but I think for the future health of the team, this is a good thing. Especially, and honestly, I think the Dolphins are going to bring him back. I hope they bring him back. I know a lot of Dolphins fans don't want him to come back because of Chop Robinson's emergence, but I just feel like they have such a good front seven. I think Anthony Weaver, who's a great coach, schematically, his third down defenses have been great. He hasn't been perfect all year. He's made some stupid decisions personnel-wise, but his schematics are really, really good. And when I say stupid, I mean like one time. He's actually, we've done a lot more big nickel lately, which is something that I talked about on the show. I think to improve some of our coverage in the middle of the field, it's not so reliant on our middle linebackers. We've relied on some 3 safety packages, which is great, to kind of help that out. So he's he really is I think he's a great game planner, and he's a great schematic. He's not repetitive God, who am I thinking of? What's the coach's name? The defensive coordinator for the Colts. I can't remember his name right now. But that's a great example of someone who literally just stays in the same. Or Dan Quinn, who doesn't really switch from week to week or change up the looks all that often. There's very few coaches like that constantly adjust. And that's one of the reasons we had one of the best third down defenses in the NFL. Is because of him. And we've been really hurt on defense, especially up front. And the development of Chop Robinson's another reason. I think it's another another feather in the cap for Weaver, because he's been way, way better than I thought. His development has been crazy. He's a great player. So, in my opinion, I would like to see what he can do with a healthy front seven. I think all we really need is maybe another interior D lineman, and this could be a top 3 front seven in the NFL, which is very important, obviously, to winning football games, and would be a scary defense. And honestly, and hopefully they can nail the middle linebacker position. And if they can do that, this defense can be really special. So I hope they can bring him back. Chop Robinson's a great player. Obviously, Jalen Phillips. So again, this offseason is so confusing. Javon Holland is a huge free agent. Strangely enough, I think the fan base has kind of turned on him. He hasn't had the best season in the world, but he's had a lot on his plate when it comes to covering. They've asked him to do a lot of stuff in man coverage. I feel like that's Javon's kind of like, I would say the thing that sucks about his career is he's always played with a safety that, other than Brandon Jones, when he was healthy, I think that was the best safety he ever played with. But he's always played with lackluster safeties, and he's had to kind of make up for that. And I think that's the reason his turnover numbers aren't as high as they should be, because I still think he's a phenomenal player. And I see some of the fans say that he's bad. He's not. He's one of the best man coverage safeties in the NFL, which is very rare. So they need to re-sign him. And he's one of the reasons the Dolphins had such a good third down defense to begin with. So they have to figure that out. I really don't think you can get rid of Holland. I think that would be a huge mistake. And then Bradley Chubb's another one. Like, what are they going to do with him? What are they going to do with Tyreek Hill? Which I hope he comes back. I hope that they can add to this team. And we can run it back and hopefully be healthier. And really what we need to improve is the interior offensive line and add a middle linebacker. I think those are the most glaring needs on the team. So it's just really going to be an interesting offseason for the Dolphins. Jalen Waddle, we have an update on him. He might play against Cleveland. It's still up in the air, which is good because it seemed like that knee injury was going to be terrible. He's had a few injuries where he's looked like he's been out for the year. I remember it was even his rookie season and preseason. It looked like he was going to be out for the year, and he came back like the next play. So Jalen Waddle's had a couple moments like that. Your updated draft order, the Miami Dolphins are currently picking 12th at 7-8. Hopefully we can win the last 2 games and root against the Denver Broncos. There's still a really good chance the Dolphins can make the playoffs, and maybe we can get our first playoff victory in more than 20 years. That would be nice. So, which is nice. This was a big game. And I know there's a lot of cynical Dolphins fans, but I am not one of those people, like overly cynical. And it's nice to be able to, like, we're still in the hunt this deep in December. And we have a good chance. We just got to win the last 2 games, and hopefully Cincinnati can beat Denver. So let's get into... Oh, there's one more thing I want to discuss. It looks like Mike McDaniel's coming back for another year. I'm pro Mike McDaniel. I know a lot of people at this point aren't. I don't think, and the biggest issue we've had against good football teams is we cannot match up with them in the trenches. Like we just can't. All the top tier AFC teams beat us because of that, and that's been one of the biggest reasons why Buffalo's beat us so many times. Not only that, but Josh Allen and Tua. I know a lot of people but people forget, like, even again on the road against the Bills, he had a phenomenal game, and we should have at least went to overtime against Buffalo. I don't know if we should have won, but we scored 30. I think we scored 30 points in that game, and we got beat by a 60-yard field goal. So Tua can play good football against good competition. I don't think that's true. I think he's good enough. Like, Tua's a great quarterback in my opinion. But the thing that I think is so frustrating is the line of scrimmage. We have to improve in that area. I mean, even in this game, which we're going to get into, they rotated guard. I mean, clearly they knew Eichenberg is like, he's had such a bad season. Like, he's had some good moments, but like, if he plays half decent defensive tackle, he gets dominated. And not just dominate, like wrecks the game. Like the Texans game is all you need to watch. Tua did not throw the football well in that game at all. But he was getting whooped. Most of the pressures came from were Eichenberg's fault. And then the next game they bench him for Isaiah Wynn, by the way, who played way better than him in this game and had a key block on the Devon A-Chain touchdown at the end of the game. So I don't know why they were rotating so much. I was like, just play him. Clearly, he's, especially in the run game, he's much better than Eichenberg. So that's a good sign for the last 2 games of the year. At least Isaiah Wynn is hopefully going to play more because he is a better player. But that, to me, that's the biggest problem. It's the most glaring issue, is we have to get better in the trenches. And even if Teron Armstead retires, they have Patrick Paul, they have Austin Jackson. Their tackles are fine. They're in a very good place. But it's just, Brewer, center is fine too. It's just the other guard positions, especially Eichenberg, dude. They have to, and maybe they can. I don't know. We'll see how Isaiah Wynn plays the last 2 games of the year, but that at least remove one of the guards. So let's get into the game. The Dolphins keep their playoff hopes alive, beating the San Francisco 49ers 29-17. Kind of a crazy game. Like I said, Isaiah Wynn actually did play a big role. He had some really nice blocks in this game. I was paying attention to every time he came in and rotated. My eyes were on him. So we'll start with the offensive side of the football. We really didn't throw the ball that much in this game. Well, I mean, I guess we did. Most of it was screens. Okay, we'll start here. Tyreek Hill. We would have blown them out if Tyreek Hill could catch a football. He dropped 2 touchdowns in this game, which is crazy. One was a phenomenal throw. Both were actually great throws by Tua. But the first one was such a great throw in the back corner of the end zone as Tua was getting destroyed on a sack. And he threw a perfect pass to Tyreek. And the ball, even if it was tipped, it wasn't even significantly tipped, it still went through his arms. It's through his arm. Through his hands, excuse me. And then he drops another one later in the game on a deep pass. That was on a 3rd and short on a go route, which was perfectly placed. And he just dropped it. It just went right through his hands again. So I really don't know what's going on with Tyreek Hill. That combined with the fact that he's not looked good all year health-wise. He has not looked like himself. I don't really know why. I mean, he keeps blaming it on the wrist. This game, after the game, he blamed it on the fact that he hasn't had any practice time with Tua. I'm sure every Dolphins fan has seen that. Whatever it is, and Tua even commented on it and agreed with him. We pay him too much money for him to not make not one but two to not make 2 big time plays, right? And those are easy touchdowns for an NFL wide receiver. So I don't know. He had a terrible game in this game. And Tyreek, ever since, God bless him, I love him on that. Listen, it's been worth it. If he leaves tomorrow, it's been worth the trade. But he's always had that problem ever since he's been a Dolphin. He's had a few big time drops for whatever reason. I don't know. But it is what it is. I don't know. It would have been nice to have those 2 touchdowns for Tua, though. Those are really good throws on deep passes, and would have been nice to have that on the highlight reel. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. I will say this before moving on from the receiver thing. It would be nice to have, watching the 49ers play, we run literally pretty much the same offense as each other. It would be nice to have more physical receivers. And I've said this so many times, and I know if you listen to the show, but it's true. Like the 49ers don't have to change their personnel at receiver at all because they're all great run blockers. And the Dolphins always have to shift personnel drastically, and it just tips their hat to me. I don't think they had to do that too many times in this game. I thought they did a pretty good job of that. But it would be nice to have a bigger, taller, physical receiver who can run some of those in-cut routes and do some of the dirty work. And hopefully they can find that. God bless Malik Washington, but he's short too. It would just be nice to have a physical receiver who's bigger and who can, like I said, who's a good route runner and can run some of those in-cuts. And is a little bit better after the catch. Like watching Debo, I'm like Debo would be the perfect Dolphin. He's the perfect player in this kind of system. And the Dolphins don't have a physical receiver other than Jonnu Smith. God bless him. He's done such a good job with it. He's really elevated the Dolphins' screen game. But they don't have any physical players on their offense. Like Jalen Waddle, he's not great after the catch. Like unless he can turn the corner on you, he's not a physical player. Same thing with Tyreek Hill. Same thing with Devon Achane. And I love all three. Those are great. Those are three great players. But it just would be nice to have a player like that in an offense that is inherently physical. It was just kind of like, man, I wish we had a bigger receiver that's a little bit more physical. So put that on the Dolphins wish list. If they can find someone like that, hopefully, I honestly, in the draft, like if they did like something like that in the first round, I would not be upset. It also helps them for the future too. I just don't know who they would draft, honestly. I'm not that well. There's that Arizona receiver who would be literally what I'm talking about, but I don't know. He'll probably go pretty high. But yeah, that would be from a Dolphins fan. It's Christmas. That's what that's what I would like to wish for is a bigger, more physical receiver. Devon Achane was phenomenal in this game. Averaged 7 yards a carry. Did some serious damage. He did 70 yards. He averaged 11 yards a reception. He had 70 yards on 6 receptions. And he had 120 yards rushing on 17 carries. Averaged 7 yards a carry. Like I said, Isaiah Wynn was a big addition to the run game in this game. He's just a much better player than Eichenberg. Don't know why. They need to just straight up play him. Raheem Mostert had a couple nice runs in this game. He still doesn't look right, though. Jonnu Smith had another great game. 6 catches for 62 yards, but those are very meaningful plays. Averaged about 10 yards a catch. Seems to always show up in big moments on third down. Tyreek Hill should have had 3 touchdowns in this game, but he dropped 2 of them. He only had 29 yards receiving. Malik Washington, who I hope that they lean on him a little bit more, especially since Odell Beckham's gone, to kind of get his development going. He made a couple what a phenomenal throw from Tua on a deep post, and it was a nice catch by Malik Washington, but we need more plays like that. And that's what I'm saying, on routes like that, like it would just be nice to have a physical, taller receiver. Like that would have been a touchdown if he was a little bit bigger of a player. And it'd be nice, especially in the red zone. Is there anybody else I want to talk about offensively? Maybe I should talk. I mean, Achane is just such a great player. He's one of those guys that it's like he doesn't look like he's going full speed. It honestly looks like he's jogging, but he's just he glides. He's such a fun player to watch, and it just like the Dolphins have so many great players, and I hope they can bring the team back. And I think they should. I think they should. See what this team can do next year if it's healthy, especially offensively. Like I don't want them to break up the band offensively. That's for sure. I don't think we're there yet with that. Well, other than the guards, hopefully we can get a guard. So yeah, I don't think offensively we pretty much hit it all up. I thought Tua had a good game. He threw the football really well. He could have had a better game if his receivers helped him out. One thing I want to say before we move on, the thing I would have been harping on is the 3rd and 5 run call was terrible. And I believe we ended up kicking 3. We were like gonna go for it at one point. I don't think we went for it on that play. No, we didn't. I just checked it. Yeah, that was a terrible, terrible play call. I do not know why Mike did that. I would have been harping on that play. But other than that, I thought Mike coached a really good game and really, I thought, really tried to commit to the run game a lot more. And it helped that Isaiah Wynn was in the game because just watch the Texans game. So, defensively, what do I want to say defensively? Kader Kohu is having a pretty good year. He's had some moments this season where I'm like, okay. Like, he's kind of frustrating. But honestly, he's had more good games than bad games, which is good. The Dolphins still have a middle linebacker problem. George Kittle went for 106 yards. Most of those were, like, because of the middle linebackers. And some of them were good play design. But, I mean, if it wasn't for Chop Robinson, he would have even had a better game. Like, that route that he put on Anthony Walker was, like, criminal. He should have been arrested for that. Like, that's still an issue and still needs to be fixed in the offseason. Even Debo's plays were all over the middle of the field. They did a pretty good job on Jauan Jennings, even though, I mean, he didn't have to do much. But when the defense needed a stop, they got it for the most part, which was good. Is there any other individual players? I'm trying to think. Jordan Brooks is a good player, but he's not a very good coverage linebacker. He does fit the Ravens scheme, though. I wouldn't mind him coming back if he was a 2. Still don't think he fixes the Dolphins' problems. Anthony Walker, great leader, great backup, great special teams player, but he's not a very good player at all as a starter. Chop Robinson is... I'm so happy with Chop. I'm like his... I hated the pick, but I love the pick now. He's such a good player. Leads the NFL in pressures since I think week 3 or 5. I can't remember what the exact stat. He's tied with Micah Parsons in overall pressures, which is very impressive. And for the entire year, he has 6 sacks, which is tied for the most out of all with the rookie pass rushers. I really think he can get Defensive Rookie of the Year if he finishes strong, which would be awesome as a Dolphins fan. To pick someone who I was like, oh, this is a development, is more of a developmental type player, and then he ends up being as good as he is, and then ends up, if he could win Defensive Rookie of the Year, which is awesome. And I know people drag Chris through the mud, but he did pick Chop Robinson and Patrick Paul in this draft, which are 2 pretty good players. So, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Chris in the offseason. And I know that's probably going to be, I think, the thing that gets Dolphins fans most upset is if they retain him. Even though his drafts have been pretty good, honestly. I mean, he added 3 pretty awesome players to the roster this year with Chop, Paul, and Jonnu Smith. I mean, those are 3 great players. So, I don't know. You can't hit them all, and nobody does in the NFL. But back to Chop. I hope he wins. I'm really hoping he can get Defensive Rookie of the Year. That would be a huge W for the Dolphins fan base. And he's such a good player. Great pass rusher. Obviously, he has things to work on when it comes to the run game. But I don't think anybody saw him being this good as a pass rusher. Everybody saw him as a prospect player, and he's way overachieved. He's a player that people have to game plan for, and he's a rookie. And if they keep their pass rush, they'll have one of the best pass rushes next year that they can just keep the front 7 together. Anybody else want to mention defensively? I'm trying to think. We talked about Zach Sealer, who's probably the best Dolphin this year. I completely agree with that take. I think he's probably had the best season out of any Dolphin this year. He's having a phenomenal. He's 8 sacks. He should make an All-Pro team, in my opinion. And again, he's another piece that they can build off of next year, and he fits the scheme perfectly. I mean, this is the scheme that he came from originally, so he's so good in it. Had another great game. I hope he makes an All-Pro team this year. Corner might be an issue, like the second corner. I think they could there's some really good ones in the first round of this draft. Maybe they make that a priority in the first round. I definitely wouldn't. I actually think that's a really good pick for them if they can get some. I'm blanking on the Michigan. I know that he'll probably pick very high, but a player. I'm blanking on his name though right now. Too many names in my head. But someone like that would be great. And I mean, Christian Gonzalez fell, so maybe. And I thought he was the best corner in the draft, and he fell all the way to the Patriots. So maybe that could happen for the Dolphins. I don't know. And that's happened before. I mean, Laramie Tunsil. But that would not be a bad pick. I mean, they need to get younger there, and they need to get someone who can be healthy. And I don't know if Storm Duck is the answer. Or clearly, Ethan Bonner isn't, and obviously Cam Smith isn't. That was a terrible pick. So, is there anything else defensively? Anybody else needs I need to shout out here? Trying to think. We talked about Cater. I think he's earned a spot next year. He's really developing into a really good nickel, and that just needs to be his role. He's not an outside corner. The Dolphins have tried that. That did not work. And they need to stop, and I think they learned that this year. Stop switching him around. Just keep him in the nickel position. That's why they need probably another outlet. They definitely need to get younger at that position. They could just have a veteran there next year, but it'd be nice to get a high a premium player, a younger premium player at that position. No, there's nothing really else I want to mention defensively. It was a great play by Calais, who's just been phenomenal. To get the pressure, and obviously Keita finishing it was great. I love 4:00 Dolphins games. There's nothing better than that. I think that's the perfect time. I mean, I think the Dolphins Stadium and just the Dolphins belong in prime time or 4:00 games. 4:00 games are my favorite, and then second would be prime time. But 4:00 games, there's something about that stadium starting with that kind of dim light in the afternoon and then going into the night is just so beautiful. And it's just a great feeling. I love 4:00 games. And shout out to Tony Romo. He loves us. Big Dolphins fan. He was shouting out some old school Dolphins. I thought that was cool. It was nice to have that. And even, who the heck does he... Who's his partner in the booth? I don't know. But even he was kind of geeking out over some older Dolphins. I thought that was cool. And shout out to John Smith. Oh, Tua. I just wanted to mention this. Tua obviously getting his 100th touchdown, joining Bob Greasy, Dan Marino, and Ryan Tannehill, which was awesome. Makes me feel really old, though. So, there's that. And, let's see here. Tua, in the last 3 seasons, Tua has had 48 touchdowns and only 1 interception in the red zone. He is an old school great quarterback. He is a pocket passer. There's nothing wrong with that. You can win a championship that way. But you need to be able to block. And when we play great teams in the AFC or NFC and they dominate us on the line of scrimmage, we're not going to win many games. So that has to be better. And I'm not saying Tua has been perfect in all the games that he's played against good teams because he hasn't. But that's one of the bigger reasons that we have lost. Honestly, the biggest reason, in my opinion, that we've lost so many games against good teams. And not to mention the fact we have the Bills in our division, who are they're just difficult to play. And if we want to take the division crown, we have to get better on the offensive line. Because I think the defensive line is set. It's a great defensive line for the foreseeable future, especially for next season. That is already solidified. But it's the offensive line that needs help. So that defensive line if we can keep them together, is a championship caliber defensive line. But and maybe could break the Dolphins' sack record that they set a year ago. What was I thinking? That's it. Hope you guys have a happy Christmas. And especially with the family and everything. It was a great Christmas gift. Nothing like winning a game in the holidays. if you're a Dolphins fan. And like I said, something about that game is really pretty. Even when we played the Dallas Cowboys last year in that 4 o'clock window, it just felt right. So that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Merry Christmas. And I'll see you guys in the next one.